Well, with all this weighing down on the island, is there a way for Puerto Rico to climb out of its troubles? Well, with me to talk more about this is Domingo Sadurni. He's a program assistant at the Adrienne Arsht Latin America Center at the Atlantic Council right here in Washington. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start by breaking down the corruption scandal and the money behind it. What's happening there?
So look, as you correctly say in your intro, what Puerto Rico is seeing today is not completely new. It is unprecedented given the scale and the magnitude of what we're seeing in the streets, but I'm going to put it down in 2 points. So as you said, in the Telegram chats that were leaked by the Center of Investigative Journalism in Puerto Rico, we saw 889 pages of profanity-laced conversations between the governor and his closest advisors. So that has prompted a lot of Puerto Ricans who are just outraged from years of what you just said, and this is just a compounding on that. And as you also said, importantly, the FBI arrests that were made to both the former Secretary of Education and the former head of the Health Insurance Administration in Puerto Rico on charges related to $15.5 million of mismanaged federal funds only adds to this crisis and the outrage we're seeing today in Puerto Rico.
So given the outrage and what's been building over the last decade or so, what sort of reforms are people really calling for?
So right now there's a tension between the elected government of Puerto Rico, led by Rachelle, the current governor, and you see what the federally established Fiscal Oversight Board. So right now, the reforms have all to pass through the Oversight Board, and you have elected officials trying to revamp the economy and made good promise on the reasons why they were elected, and you have the Oversight Board trying to straighten up the fiscal balances in Puerto Rico, and that has created some tensions as to the reforms that they're trying to pass.
So obviously, if you're a business and you're seeing these protests, you're seeing these scandals, what is this actually doing to Puerto Rico's industries?
So look, Rachelle, I think there's two points to see here on the short term and the long term. On the short term, you can see an impact on tourism. And as we've seen in the past few days, we saw 2 Royal Caribbean cruise liners reschedule their itinerary and decided not to stop in Puerto Rico. That means that 7,000 at least passengers were not engaging in the U.S. in the Puerto Rican economy. They were not spending in the tourist areas. And over the long term, we might see a reduction in investor confidence. And that's not good for Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico relies, and in the future could rely, in mainland investors and international investors in revamping the economy.
So what do you think is needed then to turn the economy around? Where does it start?
So that's a great question. I think the political situation we're living now needs to be resolved first. The political crisis that Puerto Rico is passing now, with a governor that refuses to resign. There is a lot of uncertainty regarding the future of Puerto Rico politically. Before you resolve that, it's impossible to really think about what's next for Puerto Rico in terms of the economy.
And we've also seen a lot of people obviously fleeing Puerto Rico, trying to find a better life elsewhere as this uncertainty drags on. Where are they going, and what is this doing, having this now drain of people leaving? So
before Hurricane Maria, we saw over 500,000 people leave in the span of a decade. After Maria, we saw 130,000 Puerto Ricans, around some estimates suggest, leave the island. And that 130,000 represents a 4% drop in the population of Puerto Rico. And as you have mentioned, that does not help at all for Puerto Rico to recover its economy.
Now, President Trump claims that the island has gotten more than $90 billion in aid. How accurate is that? And where are we really seeing this money going, especially in rebuilding efforts?
So look, that comment from President Trump is factually incorrect. Congress has allocated around half of that amount for Puerto Rico in disaster relief. And we've seen since the hurricane around $14 billion being dispersed to Puerto Rico. And the reasons why the money that has been allocated has not been dispersed at a rate as we've seen in other states such as Texas and Florida is because of 2 main reasons. One, because the president who has publicly said that in Puerto Rico, the level of mismanagement and alleged corruption does not allow or deserve for this money. And then second, there's a lot of bureaucratic processes going in Washington right now, which have stopped that aid.
And just quickly, what does the path forward look like, given where we are now?
So one thing is for certain. Rachelle has no capacity to govern right now. He has no support from his own party. He has no support from the people. He has no support from the US. He is basically alone. He said yesterday in a Facebook Live, he said 3 very important things. He said, 1, he will not seek the re-election in 2020. He resigned from the presidency of his party, and he said he was open to impeachment proceedings, which leaves the country in basically 2 scenarios. Either he resigns, or he's impeached, or whatever that process can end. What I trust is that the democratic system in place in Puerto Rico, which is a system as part of the US, I have faith that the Constitution will be upheld in any of those processes.
I'm sure the people of Puerto Rico are hoping so as well. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you.
Domingo Sadurni there for the Adrienne Arsht Latin America Center at the Atlantic Council.